Listen, I was in my Bible study, Matthew 17, okay? When I tell you this was mind-blowing to me, let me just break. In Matthew 17, this is the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus takes Peter, John, and James up to the top of a mountain. And suddenly, scripture says his face shines like the sun and his clothes become radiant, okay, hold on. And then something happens. Moses appears, Elijah appears, and the disciples see Jesus speaking to Moses and Elijah. Peter even asks if he should pitch 3 tents for them. Wait a minute now. So I'm reading this and I'm like, Moses lived 1400 years before Jesus. Elijah lived like 900 years before Jesus. How was Jesus speaking to Moses and Elijah at the same time on this mountain? Hold on, wait. 3 men, 3 eras, 1 moment. So I went back and I looked at Exodus, where Moses speaks to God. So in Exodus 33, Moses goes up to Mount Sinai and speaks to God. Scripture says that he speaks to God face to face. God says, "You cannot see my face and live." So God hides Moses in the cleft of the rock and he lets his glory pass by. Moses encounters God, but only partially. Okay, so then Elijah, same place, Mount Sinai, okay? Listen, 1 Kings chapter 19. Elijah is also on Mount Sinai, all right? Hundreds of years later, hundreds of years after Moses was there. And here he experiences wind and earthquake and fire, but God is not in any of those. Elijah says that God is in the still small voice. Okay. So now in Matthew 17, Moses and Elijah, they appear and something's different. They're not speaking to the presence of God. They're speaking to God in the flesh. Okay. The same God that Moses spoke to in the cleft of the rock, the same God that Elijah heard in the still small voice, now standing fully revealed in Jesus Christ, the Son. Now listen, this is where it gets deep, okay? Because Moses represents the law. Elijah represents the prophet. Now both of them are standing with Jesus, okay? Because everything that was ever lived, wrote, or prophesied about in the Bible points to Jesus. And God says from heaven, and now this is in Matthew 17, God says from heaven, "This is my son whom I love. Listen to him." Not Moses, not the law alone, not Elijah and the prophecy. Jesus.